He woke up before dawn. The room was cold. The city outside was silent. And somewhere in that silence, he made a decision that historians still argue about today. He called for his attendant. He had one request: an extra shirt. Not because he was cold, because he didn't want the thousands of people waiting outside to see him shiver and think he was afraid. That man was the King of England, and the people about to execute him were his own government. The trial that killed him was nearly called off. The judge wore armor to his own courtroom, and the most powerful general in England, Oliver Cromwell, refused to show up. What happened in that courtroom is stranger and more devastating than you've been taught. To understand how a king ended up on a scaffold, you need to understand that Charles I genuinely believed God put him on the throne. He was not, by nature, a monster. He was devoted to his family, a collector of art, and he spoke with a slight stammer. But he had dissolved Parliament 3 times and even attempted to arrest 5 members of Parliament with soldiers at his back. When his people rose against him, he didn't compromise. He went to war. The English Civil War erupted in 1642. The man who emerged as Parliament's military genius was Oliver Cromwell, a farmer who became a general, believing God had chosen him. By 1648, Cromwell's forces had defeated the king. Twice, Charles was a prisoner, but he refused to accept that he'd lost. December 6, 1648, Colonel Thomas Pride positioned his soldiers at the House of Commons before the city was awake. He had a list. Around 140 members of Parliament were turned away or arrested. History calls it Pride's Purge. It was a military coup. The government had been seized by an army, so they could use that government to execute its king. The reaction across Europe was immediate. Every monarch understood if a king could be put on trial, no crown was secure. 135 commissioners were appointed to sit in judgment. Fewer than 70 showed up. The rest had vanished. The man who finally agreed to preside was John Bradshaw, a provincial lawyer. He had his hat modified, lined with metal plates. January 20th, 1649. Westminster Hall. Spectators packed into every corner. Soldiers lined the ancient stone in rows with muskets loaded. King Charles I walked in. He wore black. He moved without hurry, as if he had nowhere else to be. He sat down and did not remove his hat. It was a statement. I do not recognize your authority over me. The charge was read. High treason. The hall was silent. When asked for his plea, Charles asked, "By what power I am called hither?" From the gallery, a woman's voice cut through the silence. Not half, not a quarter of the people of England. That woman was likely Lady Anne Fairfax, wife of the general who had actually defeated Charles, but refused to attend the trial. January 25th. The commissioners met in private. Cromwell personally moved through the room, pressuring those who wavered. 59 men signed the death warrant. Oliver Cromwell, third name. He had crossed a line that no amount of time could ever uncross. Before he faced the crowd, Charles asked for that second shirt. He walked beneath the magnificent Rubens ceiling one last time. He lay his head on the block. The crowd did not cheer. A long collective groan moved through the people of London. 11 years later, the monarchy was restored. The regicides were hunted, and Cromwell's body was exhumed. His head was placed on a spike above Westminster Hall for 20 years. History does not forget. Was Charles I a tyrant or a man of principle, destroyed by a changing world? Leave a comment and tell me what you think.